KLK 102.5 FM. Good morning to you on your Monday. It's the first Monday of the month, so you know what that means. It is now time for another edition of Making Progress. And joining us today is Renay Williams of the Democratic Party of Craighead County. And it's always such a pleasure to have you here today. So we won't waste any time. So just kind of talk about some of the things that's going on to keep the listeners and viewers informed.
Yeah, great. Thanks for having me. Um, so the Democratic Party of Craighead County is gearing up for the rest of the year for organizing. And because filing for elected office starts in November of this year, because next year is a presidential year, and on presidential years, our primary is in March of that year. So our primary will be in March of 2024 instead of May, like it normally is for off years. And that means that filing is early, November 2023. So we have a lot of work to do, and we've already gotten started. The party meets every month on the fourth Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Currently, we always meet at Legends Barbecue on 1025 West Johnson. Our meetings start at 5:30, but they end at 7. And these are really good opportunities to meet local organizers and community leaders. And we also do a lot of announcements about local upcoming events. And we're really focused on teaching people how to understand and navigate the political system because it is oftentimes deliberately confusing and sometimes even hostile to people who they don't want to participate. So if you're poor, if you're marginalized in some way, they really don't want you to participate. But we're going to show you how. Membership is free. You can join the committee and you can even come to our meetings without being a member. A membership is not required. Our meetings are open to the public. And I think we're a pretty good group of organizers. I would encourage everybody who doesn't feel represented by their local government to come and get involved so we can help change that. Jonesboro is like the economic hub and kind of the cultural center of Northeast Arkansas, but our local government doesn't really reflect that diversity of our culture, our economy, our the people who live here. But we really want to change that. Um, Inside the committee, we also have teams that do various types of work. Our communications team creates content into social media like Twitter or Facebook, or we're trying to get a TikTok team going. So if any of the youths out there want to help us make non-embarrassing TikToks, we are 100% willing to learn from you. We communications works on our newsletter. It works with the secretary to send out information to members. One of our goals going forward is to build like a press team. So a team that can focus on sending out press releases when we do things, because we don't really have that right now. And the comms team is obviously like the team that interfaces with the public the most. So if people want to do that kind of volunteer work, we are happy to have you. But one of our most important teams right now is our community service team. It is a team that helps out in the community. The main thing that we do in community service is we help local nonprofits by donating items that they need. So we have a donation schedule that we post on our website. If you go to craigheaddems.org and look and use the little things at the top to look up the subcommittees, the community service donation schedule for 2023 is there. And for April, the month that we're in right now, we are contributing items to Hope House. Hope House is a new addition to our nonprofit supporter list. It is at 111 North Fisher Street And according to the Jonesboro Sun, it's open 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And this is a place where people who are unhoused or struggling can go to access like showers, laundry services. They can get grab and go meals there. They can access job services and computers. Um, we decided that we would add them to our roster because a lot of people expressed interest in supporting them because they were newly opened. Um, and so that will be our nonprofit for April. The other organizations that we help include the Hub, the Family Crisis Center, the ASU Newport Food Pantry, and then in December we adopt a family or two to help with making sure that their kids have a good Christmas.
Speaking with Renay Williams of the Democratic Party of Craighead County, this is our Making Progress segment, getting all of the latest updates. And definitely looks like you all have a lot going on as far as the community service and getting people organized. I want to kind of bring it back to, as you mentioned, the 2024 election will be coming up. And how is the party working on recruiting candidates to run for the various offices? I know there's a site out there that's called Run for Something, in which if someone's interested in running for office, they can get more information. So let's kind of touch on that a little bit.
Right, Run for Something actually a national organization founded by two people one person who worked in politics and then another woman, Amanda Littman, who worked on Hillary Clinton's campaign in 2016. We have taken a lot of our like training and documentation from Run for Something. They're a great organization to help. They do incredible work at the local level. They're really focused on electing local progressives. And so we were kind of following their model. And one of the things about recruiting candidates, I see on social media a lot, like, why are the Democrats letting all these seats go uncontested? Well, the thing about candidates is that they are people and they have lives and they have like needs. They need food and shelter and healthcare, and all of those things cost money. And running a race is really, really time and energy and money intensive. So you really can't force somebody to run for an office. So often when there are vacant seats, there's nobody running for the seat against any of the Republicans or Libertarians or independents in office. It's because we could not find the candidates for those seats. And finding those candidates is a matter of finding people who are interested in running for office, which is really harder than you think a lot of times, because a lot of times the people that we most want to run don't think that they are qualified to run, even though most of the times for most races, qualifications for running for office is age and residency, and that's it. There's not even like you must have a high school diploma. No, there's none of that. It's just age and residency. And so first we have to find the people we want to community leaders, community organizers that we think would be really good public servants in elected capacity. And then we have to convince them most of the time that they would be good for that position, whatever position we think that they could run for. And there are so many, right? There's school board, there's a city council, there's the county court. Then you go a little higher, and it's like state legislature, so state house or state senate. And so there's all these positions that like we need to feel that a lot of people just don't realize that they have the capacity to do very, very well in those positions. Because obviously, being elected to a position and doing the work is really different than being a candidate and running in a campaign. They're two totally different skill sets. So oftentimes we just have to spend the time to do the searching for the people and then also the convincing of the people. So it's like a two-step process, and it's very time intensive, and we only have a very few amount of people here doing it. We definitely need more people to start asking their family and friends, be like, hey, have you thought about running for local office?
Okay, and of course, staying on that subject, imagine one of the well, a couple of the barriers. One would be the financial aspect of running a campaign. Some people think, well, they couldn't raise the money, and then of course, in today's politically charged climate, you probably have some people like, well, do I really want to subject myself to some of the personal attacks, some of the vitriol that you often see play out in the political process?
Yes, I'd never sugarcoat how hard it is to be a Democrat or a progressive here where we live. For example, in a few weeks, it will be the anniversary of the murder of Bill Gwatney, who was the Democratic Party chair. Um, a man walked into the headquarters in Little Rock and shot him and killed him. And so I'm always really honest with people that being a Democratic progressive in these spaces is hard. It can be physically dangerous. I don't want people to go into it thinking it's going to be a breeze. You have to have a lot of strength of character. You have to understand how to read like situations to know whether you're safe. You have to have a lot of situational awareness. And it's just really, really difficult. This is
You got to
why
have
we
thick
have,
skin.
yeah, you have to, people are going to say some of the most cruel and nasty things because the Republican Party, to be frank, has made this kind of nasty, personal, uh, rude politics mainstream. They've made it okay to go after people with just really awful commentary, and they support it in their supporters, right? If a Republican has supporters, they will go after their opposition in these really gross, um, dehumanizing ways, and the Republican candidates will say nothing about it. Which is a tacit endorsement of that behavior. So you have to be very, very okay with letting a lot of things roll off your back. Um, and that's one of the struggles that we have in finding candidates here.
Okay, and even staying along that vein, you know, how do you guys deal with the apathy? Like, so when candidates do put themselves forward, that you sometimes have the community be like, well, we're not really feeling this candidate. It doesn't really matter. The other side is just going to win anyway. So how do you overcome that?
Mostly by having conversations, just a lot of conversation, a lot of very intense. I would almost call the work that we do like trust calls, like trust meetings where we go and we just sit down with people and we talk to them about our shared values. We're never going to convince people to do things by force, right? We have to have people who are consenting to listening to us and to following our lead in making government work for people. Because obviously, one of the key features of Democrats is that we believe that government can help people. We believe that government can be a positive force in people's life. And so that we just have to talk to people and explain our vision for what our democracy could be. And sometimes that takes a takes a while. And so it's not just candidates that we're having to, move, or potential candidates, I should say. It's also voters, right? When people are so disconnected and they don't see how government can make their life better on a day-to-day level, that's not one conversation on a door right before an election. That's a conversation you're having months and months and months in advance with these voters. And that's why organizing is so hard. And that's why a lot of people have um, kind of given up on progressive policies, I think, because going back to your earlier thing about fundraising, um, a lot of times when it comes to propaganda, which is what a lot of our opposition puts out, just really, really thoughtless propaganda. It's really easy to flood the media landscape with propaganda and make people think that government it doesn't work and you should elect these other people to fix it. Except we've been doing that for about 20 years now, and things haven't gotten much better. And they've been in charge for quite a while. So um, that's one of the places where we start. We were like, well, they've been saying they're going to make it better, and it's only gotten worse. So why don't you come with us and let's make a difference. Let's make a change.
And of course, it all starts with first getting people to vote. And as you mentioned in the beginning part of the conversation, there can be and are difficulties for people to get registered to vote and actually voting. So you have to overcome both the mental barrier, and then you have to overcome the physical and structural barriers as well. So how do you all plan to address that?
That's education, because so you want to register to vote, but because of the voter ID law, which is basically just a poll tax, basically a poll tax. Voter ID laws are poll taxes because it costs money to get some of these IDs and time. And so if you are, say, uh, a mother who is working two jobs, has two kids, is single, you don't have reliable transportation, how how are you supposed to get to the DMV to get like your ID renewed, um, when you have two kids who are in school and have activities and you have two jobs? The DMV is only open, like, what is it, 9 to 5? For like, it's really very limited hours on weekdays. And so think about like the struggles of people who don't have like mobility, either like especially social um, mobility, not even just financial mobility. And then you have to find the money to come up with to get the ID renewed. And some people don't drive, so they only have a state ID, right? And that's an additional barrier. And then you have the fact that if you want to go and register to vote, you have to find a form, which are you can print off once you can go to online and print. But number one, you have to have a computer, you have to have a printer. But you can go pick up a form, but that you have to go to a library or someplace that has the forms. And a lot of people don't know where to go get that form. They don't even realize that the library has them. And so when you start, people who are like into politics and into this process know where to go. Half the struggle is that a lot of people don't know where to go because they were never taught how to navigate the system. Um, and so part of that is just educating people on how to navigate a system that deliberately wants you to get discouraged and quit. That's the goal. Our opposition doesn't have good ideas to encourage you to the polls. So their strategy now has just been to make it so hard and so annoying that civic engagement doesn't fit into your life. And it's been really effective, unfortunately. And so we have to do the education to teach people how to navigate that system, and teach people what it looks like when they're being deliberately demoralized.
All right. And as we get ready to wind down this edition of Making Progress, is there anything else that you want to talk about? Any topics that we may not have covered, or any topics that you kind of want to touch back on?
Well, speaking of getting involved, which is how we started, the county party is one way to get involved. I know a lot of people have, beefs with the way that county party structures work. There are a lot of other ways that people who want to get involved and understand this work can find places to plug in that might be more like relevant to their interests. So, for example, the Democratic Party of Arkansas has caucuses. Like we have we had the Black Caucus. there is the new Rural Caucus, the Progressive Caucus, and these are groups that are doing statewide organizing, but looking for people in these areas to come and work with them. So that's another good way to get involved, because you can look them up on the state party's website at arcdems.org and find a caucus that is to your interests, and they will help you focus on the things that you care about. Another way to get involved, which is not related to Democratic politics at all, is that you can volunteer for your Friends of the Library group. The Friends of the Library group in your community is a nonprofit normally, and you can volunteer in the bookshop. You can volunteer when they table at events. It's a great way to meet people and get connected, and libraries are great. And as always, if you want to join the county party, craigheaddems.org, you can reach out to me on Facebook as well, and I'm happy to connect anybody with anything they want to do. Even if you're like, oh, Renay, you listed all these things, none of these sound interesting. Great. Send me a DM on Facebook. My name is Renay Williams. I will find you something to do based off what you're passionate about. Like, do you care about like agriculture? Do you care about queer rights? Do you care about animal rights? Like, I can find you a way to plug in to make you feel more connected to the way that your community is working. I will help you.
Absolutely. And we definitely thank you for joining us today for this edition of Making Progress. And that's going to do it. And I always forget to give a disclaimer, or at least lately, maybe because I've been just so busy. So let me go ahead and get that disclaimer. Kayla Ken, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, we do not endorse, support, or oppose any political candidate, political party, or particular issue. We provide these interviews for informational purposes only, but as always, we are going to encourage you to get involved in the political process, educate yourself on what's going on, and definitely register to vote so that you can be an informed citizen. Renay, once again, thank you so much for joining us, and that's going to do it. This is Kaylee K.